Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Banter in the Box. Strap yourselves in, boys and girls, because we have got a packed episode today on the opening weekend of the Premier League season. The 29th season of the Family Fantasy Football League kicks off in earnest. And this week's edition of Banter in the Box is one for the FFFL Purists. It's our annual stats special, but there's loads of other things we've got to cover this week. We've got a league table review. The Community Shield took place last week, which means I shared a league table in the week. It's an unofficial league table because we haven't had a full game week yet. And the reason I wanted to do a league table review wasn't so much to show you where people are in the league table, because with only one game gone, it's kind of irrelevant. But it was more to point out what all of the information on the league table represents, just in case any of you wondered, but you were too scared to ask. We've also got the Predictor Challenge that I shared yesterday. I'll be covering that. We've had some predictions in that have been quite interesting. I've got not one, not two, but three quotes of the week. I'm feeling generous. I'm dishing out manager of the season points left, right and centre, but we've had some great banter this week, which is very encouraging for the new season. And not only three quotes of the week, I've also got a meme of the week. Love memes on the Family Fantasy Football League Facebook group, so I'll be sharing that. We've had more entries to the Wall of Shame. No surprise there. They deserve their moment of shame in the sun. And then stats, and more stats. I'll be giving you the analysis of all of the players that have been picked at the start of the season, which will give you insight and tell you whether you think your team is a good team or a not so good team. You can decide. And then we've got a manager of the season update. Did anyone get last week's question right? I will be revealing that. So, this is the bottom of the league table before tonight's Burnley versus Manchester City game. And it's no happy endings. Di Maloney, rock bottom of the table, the only manager yet to pick up a point, with Norfolk and Chance FC, Average Joes. No surprise there, but somewhat of a surprise. Ostrich Bar Stewards finished fourth last year. They are the four teams making up the relegation zone. At the top of the table, well, no surprise, the number one rated manager in the Family Fantasy Football League sets the pace in pre-season top of the table. Now, obviously, the first column is your position in the league. The team name is your team name. The manager is the manager of that team. The budget is how much money you have to spend. At the end of every month, every team in the bottom half of the table will get an extra £5 million to spend. So that figure will go up if you end a month in the bottom half of the table. So that figure in the budget column is how much you have to spend. It's not how much your team value is now. You can tell that from the teams tab on the updates. That budget column is how much money you have to spend. Wildcard TG remaining. TG stands for Tactical Gambit. A wildcard tactical gambit, and all this is detailed in the rules, so you've obviously read them and know, allows you to make multiple transfers in a single week without penalty. I say without penalty. If you make a transfer before the 1st of January, it will cost you 10 points. From the 1st of January onwards, the cost goes down to 5 points. And you can only make one transfer per week unless you purchase a wildcard tactical gambit. A wildcard tactical gambit costs you £5 million, which means your available budget, assuming it's 80, which everyone is at the moment, means your available budget would drop to 75 million. So your team couldn't add up to more than that. But you can only play you can only purchase one wildcard tactical gambit during the season. So at the moment, everyone has one wildcard tactical gambit remaining because no one's purchased one yet. As soon as you do, that will drop to 0 and you won't be able to purchase another wildcard tactical gambit. Oi Is Mine TG is the Oi Is Mine Tactical Gambit, which also costs £5 million. The Oi Is Mine Tactical Gambit allows you to bring in a player that already has been selected by another manager, already belongs to another FFFL team. Under normal rules, you can't purchase a player that already belongs to another team. On the Teams tab of the weekly updates, there's a column, is the player available for selection? And if that says no, then that means that player belongs to at least one other FFFL team, and you can't purchase him. You can only purchase the players that have yes in the is this player available for transfer, unless you spend £5 million of your available budget to buy an Oi Is Mine Tactical Gambit, which means you can purchase a player even though another manager has already got them. But you only get 3 of those in a season. So as you use them, that column, the number in that column next to your name will drop. And when you've done 3, you can't have any more. The form column is where your position has changed based on last week's league table. This is your first league table of the season, well, unofficial league table of the season. That column won't change at the end of this week either. But, in week 2, you'll see numbers up and down appearing in there based on where you've moved in the league. Manager of the month is the total points you've scored this month, because each month there's a £10 prize for the manager of the month, the manager who scores the most points in a month. So that MOM column details how many points you've scored this month. Now, obviously, this is the first month of the season, August, so the manager of the month column equals the total points column at the end. But in September, the manager of the month column will be different to the total points column, because the count will start again in September and then again in October, etc, etc. Weekly wins is how many weekly wins you've scored in a season. There's £10 for the most weekly wins in a season. Assists, how many assists your team has recorded in a season. There's a £10 prize for the silver boot for the most assists. Goals, how many goals your team has scored. £10 prize for the golden boot, the team that scores the most goals. Highest weekly total is the highest weekly total that your team has recorded during the season. £10 prize for the person that gets the highest weekly total of the season. Weekly points is how many points you scored in the last week, and total points, how many points you've scored this season. So that is an explanation, in case any of you are wondering, on how the league table is made up. Predictor Challenge. Those of you that pay attention to the emails will know the Predictor Challenge window has opened. We do this every year. It's only open until Thursday the 17th of August. If you haven't got your predictions in by Thursday the 17th of August, you will miss out on the Predictor Challenge. Why should you enter the Predictor Challenge? Well, 1, because it's fun and it creates banter. But 2, for every prediction you get right at the end of the season, you will earn 5 Manager of the Season points, which could be a maximum of 25 Manager of the Season points from the Predictor Challenge. The Manager of the Season, remember, wins £15 million in 3 tactical gambits. Simon Hoxby was the Manager of the Season last season, so he's got £15 million to spend on tactical gambits, which means he can purchase Oi Is Mine tactical gambits or wildcard tactical gambits, and he won't have to pay the £5 million. Well, after he spent the £15 million, he will have to start buying them if he buys any more. But for the first £15 million worth of tactical gambits, he's effectively getting them for free. I should mention, actually, I've mentioned wildcard tactical gambits and Oi Is Mine tactical gambits. There are 2 other tactical gambits that you can purchase. It's detailed in the rules. There's the Tommy Turncoat, which allows you to change your nominated club. Don't quote me on this, but I think they cost £2 million. There's no limit to how many of them you can buy. And there's also a Mutiny on the Bounty tactical gambit, which means you can change your captain without having to transfer him out. I think, again, don't quote me, I think from memory that tactical gambit costs £2 million as well. And again, no limit on how many of those tactical gambits you can purchase. I don't think there are any other tactical gambits, but they're all detailed in the rules if there are any more. So 3 managers have already had a go at the Predictor Challenge. Niall Ponsford, they're all big heads as well. Niall Ponsford has predicted that he will win the league. He thinks Ontario Grizzlies, who are bidding to become the first manager in FFFL history to win 3 consecutive FFFL titles, he thinks they'll just miss out and finish second. He thinks Chairman's Choice is going to finish third, which is where I finished last season. I'll be happy with that. He's got the #1 rated manager in the Family Fantasy Football League, Arden Diamonds, winning the cup. And Jack Hawksby, Masters of None, taking the wooden spoon. That is harsh. The Mad Hatter has not only predicted that he'll win the cup, but he thinks he's going to do the league as well, the league and cup double. He's gone for his good mate Grease Lightning to finish second, and he's selected Chairman's Choice to finish third, and he thinks Green Top Milk will get the wooden spoon. More on that later. And Alexi Lagos has bigged himself up to win the league. He's also gone Ontario Grizzlies, finishing second. He doesn't like the Mad Hatter as much as the Mad Hatter likes him, because he thinks the Creed Bratton Society are going to finish third. He's gone for his better half, Megan Hoxley Chamberlain, to win the cup. I think he's just fishing for brownie points there. That would be a major shock, but I hope it happens. And he's gone for Norfolk and Chance FC to win the wooden spoon again. I say again, Angela didn't win it last year, but she has won it before. So, get your predictions in. You have until Thursday, the 17th of August. You need to tell me who you think is going to win the league, finish runner-up and finish third, who is going to win the Family Fantasy Football League Cup, and who you think is going to take home the wooden spoon. And for every prediction you get right, you'll earn 5 Manager of the Season points at the end of the season, which could make all the difference in you winning the Manager of the Season title. Quotes of the week. Well, we start with Benny United manager Mark Benwell. Don't get excited, Mark. This is not your quote. But in the early season table, in the earliest table after the Community Shield, when not all the teams were in, Benny United was out at the top of that table, which he was very pleased about. But his arch rival, I've Got a Life manager Mops Hawksby, had something to say about it. And I was quite pleased about this, because in the 29-year history of the Family Fantasy Football League, it's fair to say that the rivalry between Benny United and I've Got a Life has been the most ferocious. But as they've got older, because they're both pretty old now, it's fair to say they've mellowed, and the rivalry has tapered out, really. But maybe it's back, because on seeing that Mark Benwell had gone top of the league, Mops had this to say: Benny, as per normal, peaks too early. Well, I'm not going to comment on whether Benny is suffering from premature ejaculation, but it made me laugh, Mops. So, 1 Manager of the Season point to you. And then I had another quote from Sashama's FC manager Wayne Robinson, just after he saw the cup draw. And this was the group that Sashama's FC manager Wayne was drawn in. He's in with Clockhouse Rangers manager great Uncle George, Masters of None manager Jack Hawksby, and Haven't Jot a Clue manager James Holmes. And when Wayne saw that, he had this to say: surely my name's on the cup this year. Look at the group I'm in. George, Jack, James, you can't let him get away with that. He's winning the mind games. Let me know what you want to respond with. We can't let Wayne get away with that. But it made me laugh. 1 Manager of the Season point to Wayne. And another quote of the week. There is a picture of the Mad Hatter on the left with returning manager Jimmy Bloomfield on the right. I have no idea who the women were. I think that both the women were on day release, which is why they're hanging around with those two. And when Jordan submitted his predictor challenge, where he predicted that his so-called buddy, Jimmy Bloomfield, would finish bottom, Jordan sent me this message: James Bloomfield for the wooden spoon. I am 1,000,000% sure on this one. I have never been so sure of anything in my life. Jimmy Bloom's bottom of the barrel. I cannot express this enough. That is the ultimate mind games being won there by the Mad Hatter. Jimmy, you surely are not going to let that lie. You must have a comeback. Please let me know you do, buddy. But it made me smile. 1 Manager of the Season point to the Mad Hatter. And then the meme of the week. Take a bow. Niall Ponsford, who posted this on the Family Fantasy Football League Facebook group. New season, same struggle. Me spending £50 million on 3 luxury players that were grab goals, and also me spending a combined £4 million on 4 poverty defenders and midfielders. Well, you finished second last year, buddy, in your debut season. Who's to say that approach won't work? But that you articulating the struggles of picking a Family Fantasy Football League team and sharing it on the Family Fantasy Facebook group made me smile, and that was worth a manager of the season point. By the way, lots of people struggled with their teams. Not only 5 managers putting invalid teams in, and George and debut manager Jordan put an invalid team in twice, but the number of managers that sent me revised teams before the deadline, some managers did, no, I'm not joking, did 6 or 7 changes before the 9 p.m. deadline on Thursday. I know it's a struggle, but it's too late now. Any changes you make now are going to cost you 10 points. Wall of shame. And I kind of just alluded to it. We already knew Mark Benwell and great Uncle George were on the wall of shame for submitting invalid teams. Debut manager Jordan appears on the wall of shame, and technically he should be on here twice because he entered a team that was invalid, and it was really invalid. He had multiple players from 3 different Premier League clubs. Obviously you can only have multiple players from a nominated club, so I advised him that his first effort was invalid. He quickly sent me a revised team, and he still had multiple players from 3 different clubs. Third time was a charm. He got a valid team in. That's why he is on the wall of shame. Also making the wall of shame, returning manager Nikki Lee. Got to go easy on her, otherwise she'll beat me up. But she did enter an invalid team. Multiple players from more than 1 Premier League club. And finally, he left it late putting his team in. Pez United manager Ryan Perrin. And when he did put it in, he had an invalid team again. Multiple players from more than 1 Premier League club. So there is your wall of shame so far. More people are no doubt going to appear on the wall of shame. We normally get about 16 or 17 entries as people make transfers and turn their valid teams into invalid teams. But for now, they are the 5, or well, 6 including great Auntie Jill, people on the wall of shame. Stats and more stats. Some of you hate this, but I know the FFFL purists absolutely love it. I'm going to share the stats from all the teams that start the Family Fantasy Football League season. The 28 managers this year picked 146 different Premier League players, 9 different goalkeepers, 52 different defenders, 49 different midfielders, and 36 different forwards. In terms of nominated clubs, 1 manager each went for Brighton, Chelsea, Newcastle and West Ham. In third place, 3 managers went for Arsenal as a nominated club. In second place, 5 managers went for Liverpool. But 16 of the 28 managers went for Manchester City. Interestingly, across all of the 28 teams, all of the nominated clubs, with the exception of Chelsea, are competing in Europe this season. But even though Chelsea are not in Europe, someone has decided to go for multiple players from Chelsea, which is interesting. Formations. In third place, 4-4-2 and 3-5-2. 2 managers each went for those formations. In second place, 4-3-3. 6 managers went for that formation. I remember in the early seasons of the Family Fantasy Football League, the only 2 valid formations were 4-4-2 and 4-3-3. Just got crazy in the last few years. The most popular formations, 3-4-3 and 4-4-2. 9 managers went for those 2 formations. 4-2-4, very attacking. So they are the most popular formations. So if you went for 4-4-2 and 3-5-2, you're either a tactical genius or you've got it badly wrong. Captains. Well, this told a story. Two managers, in second place, equal second. One manager went for Salah, one for Nunez, one for Alisson, one for Wilson, one for Rice, one for Pope, one for Grealish, one for João Pedro, youngster that Brighton have recently picked up, and one for Harry Kane. 19 people selected Erling Haaland as their captain. I thought this was going to be the 10-a-side league at one point in this season when the teams were coming in, because it looked like absolutely everybody was going to pick Haaland. So I was quite pleased that 9 managers decided to be a bit different and not go for Haaland. But he is, without doubt, the most popular pick and the most popular captain. Only one manager went for a midfielder as their captain. 2 managers went for goalkeepers. Whether that was by choice or whether it was because they forgot to select a captain, and under the rules, if you don't select a captain when you submit your team, then your goalkeeper becomes your captain. I'm not sure. And of the 28 managers, 25, 19 of them Haaland, have picked a forward as a captain. No one selected a defender to be a captain, which I thought was interesting. That's not happened before. In terms of players picked per team, well, if the FFFL was a barometer for where the Premier League is how the Premier League is going to go, then it looks like Manchester City are going to retain it, but they're going to be pushed all the way by Liverpool. 14 Manchester City players have been selected and 14 Liverpool players. Now, only 11 players can be on the pitch at any one time, so some people are going to be thinking about transferring out the City or Liverpool players that they've picked. 11 Arsenal players picked, 10 Tottenham. Surprisingly, 10 different Sheffield United players picked and 8 different Burnley players. I suspect that is because that is where the value lay. Lots of cheap £1 million options in the newly promoted clubs. Big surprise that only 6 Manchester United players have been selected. Only 7 Chelsea players. Only 7 Newcastle, only 7 Aston Villa, only 7 Brighton. Newcastle, Brighton, Aston Villa are all in Europe. Newcastle in the Champions League. Manchester United in the Champions League. Plenty of those players that are available for transfer that haven't been picked. Only 6 West Ham players. They're in the Europa League. So there's players there. Not many people fancied Luton Town players, newly promoted club. Most people think are going to struggle. Bournemouth and Wolves, very low pick from those teams, and only 2 Crystal Palace players picked. No one inspired by Roy Hodgson being retained as the Crystal Palace manager. Most popular goalkeepers. Well, what does this mean? I've got this completely wrong. In third place, Alisson. 3 people picked Alisson. In joint second, Ramsdale, Pickford and Martinez. 4 managers going for them, but the most popular goalkeeper, Ederson, Manchester City. 9 managers selecting Ederson. In terms of defenders, Roberts and Akanji were in third place. 4 managers going for them. Roberts of Burnley, bit of a surprise. I guess it was because of the value. Roberts and Akanji were joint 4th. In third place, Ben Chilwell, Chelsea defender, not in Europe, but 5 managers selecting him. In joint second, Reece James of Chelsea and Konate of Liverpool, who didn't have an outstanding debut season for Liverpool. 7 managers have gone for James and Konate. The most popular defender is another Manchester City player, John Stones. 8 managers picking him up. Most popular midfielders. In joint third, Declan Rice, Emil Smith-Rowe of Arsenal, the young Incenzo at Brighton, and a bit of a surprise, young Flint Downs at West Ham. 4 managers each going for those 4. In joint second, Bruno Fernandes of Manchester United and Kovacic of Manchester City. 5 managers each going for them. Fernandes was the highest scoring midfielder last season, but therefore he was expensive, which may have put a lot of people off. The most expensive midfielders, big surprise here. Mason Mount moving to Manchester United. Lots of people inspired by that. And unknown Dahoud of Brighton 6 managers going for Mason Mount, 6 managers going for this Dahoud fellow at Brighton. Maybe I've got his value wrong. I think I had him in at £1 million. 6 managers thought that was real value. So they're your most popular midfielders. And as for most popular forwards, Jimenez, Jota, Salah. Salah used to be really popular in seasons gone by and lots of people being put off by him. Morris at Luton, 4 managers going for him. Again, that must be the value. Grealish and Antonio, they were all picked 4 times. Next was Mudryk, flop debut season at Chelsea, but 4 managers, that doesn't make sense. I think that might have been 3 managers going for Jimenez. It was. Jimenez, Jota, Salah, Morris, Grealish and Antonio were picked each by 3 managers. 4 managers going for Mudryk, not put off by his woeful debut season at Chelsea. 5 managers going for Diaz. Some value there because he was out for a long time with an injury last season. People thinking he's going to come back just as good as before his injury. Isak of Newcastle, no doubt. Newcastle being in the Champions League helps. 6 managers going for him. Interesting. And as I said, 19 managers have selected Haaland, and everyone who picked Haaland made him their captain, which isn't a surprise because he was the highest point scorer last season. They are your most popular forwards. What that tells you about your team, I don't know, but some of you love the stats, so I thought I would share it. Manager of the season question last week was this: what is the biggest ever winning margin in the FFFL title race? You just had to give me a number, and the person that got it close got one manager closest, got 1 manager of the season point. And absolutely nobody had a guess. You've obviously tired of these questions. They're too taxing for your brain. If just one person had a guess, no matter how way out they were, they would have got a manager of the season point by default. But no one had a guess. So you know what? Sod ya. I'm not going to bother telling you what the answer was. So the manager of the season table looks like this. The Mad Hatter and Wayne Robinson both picking up a manager of the season point this week. They go to joint 14th on 2 points. Niall Ponsford and Angela Addis. Angela got a point for guessing who the manager was that entered their team last. And she guessed herself because it was her. So she got the manager of the season point. So Angela and Niall Ponsford moving to joint 3rd on 11 with Jack Hoxby. But top of the table, well, this is interesting. It's the arch rivals, neck and neck. Mark Benwell joined at the top of the manager of the season table by Mops Hoxby, who got a point for getting a quote of the week. And that quote of the week was at Mark's expense. Oh, a double blow to Mr. Benwell. So that's your current manager of the season table. And as you do not like the manager of the season questions anymore, we're reverting back to something that I know loads of you do like, and that is, who the fuck is that? Remember, you only get 1 guess per week. And all you've got to tell me for a manager of the season point is which current Family Fantasy Football League manager is pictured there. If you give me the correct manager, you will earn 1 manager of the season point. But remember, only 1 guess per week. I'm off to watch Burnley versus Manchester City. It's back, baby. Until next week, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.